Welcome to the Science of Tree Felling series. In this video, we're going to talk about how to use the chain brake. I see a lot of people using the chain brake improperly. Now, first of all, we need to know when to use the chain brake. The chain brake should be used anytime you're not actively cutting. Some rules talk about the number of steps that you take in between cuts, and really all that is nonsensical. If you aren't intending to actively be cutting, if you do not want those razor blades to be running around this bar, which is anytime that you're not cutting, you want to limit their ability to move and cut. And that is what the chain brake is designed for. Again, if you recall, during the inspection process, we made sure that the chain brake was functional before we used the saw. But now I want to focus on how we actually use the chain brake. So make sure that your chain brake is engaged, certainly when you're starting the saw, and anytime you're moving with the saw, or anytime that you're not actively cutting. Unless you are going to pull on the trigger and cut something, have your chain brake on. Now, don't just engage your chain brake immediately with the saw at full rev. That can damage some of the components over time. They can certainly take the abuse, but it's only going to be made longevity of those parts if you slow the chainsaw down. So what I do is, if I'm in a full cut and I come through that cut, I will let off the throttle, just let the chain idle down into the wood, and then engage my chain brake. And here's how I engage the chain brake. I'm going to show you how to do it and some of the common mistakes that I see. Engaging and disengaging the chain brake. To disengage the chain brake, again, with my hands in the proper location, with my thumbs wrapped around, opposing my fingers, I'm going to keep that thumb in that power grip position, and I'm going to rotate out and get my fingers free. So now I'm still in that power grip position, but I have my fingers free, and I'm actually still able to control this saw. I'm going to grab with my fingers the chain brake handle, and I'm going to pull it back until it disengages. Now I can put my fingers back into that power grip, and I'm able to cut, never relinquishing control of the saw. I make my cut. If the chain is still moving after I make my cut, I'm going to slow that chain down by pressing it into the wood without engaging the throttle. Once that chain is stopped moving, then with the roll of a wrist, I can go ahead and engage that chain brake. So to take the chain brake off, thumb still engaged, pulling back on handle, chain brake off, do the cutting that I need to do before I move, and if I'm not actively cutting, roll of the wrist forward, re-engage that chain brake. That is how you're supposed to use a chain brake. Disengage, engage. The most common mistake that I'll see people do to use the chain brake, they know they have to use it, they know it's a safety mechanism, but they'll relinquish their right hand off of the balancing control of the saw, and they will try to engage or disengage the chain brake in this fashion. This is a very unstable and dangerous position to find yourself in. So now you have less control of the saw. You have no ability to balance or control it because you only have one hand operating on the fulcrum. You don't have a control mechanism anymore. Your hand is off and you're trying to press onto the chain brake. What happens if you miss? What happens if the chain brake breaks? There's a lot of what ifs, and I don't care to go through them all, but the next location that your hand's going to as you're slapping that chain brake and trying to engage it is the chain itself. This is a terrible position to find yourself in. You always want to stay as far away from that chain as possible. So when we're engaging the chain brake or disengaging the chain brake, we're never using our right hand. Also, if we are using our left hand, we're never disengaging this thumb for our ability to control the saw. Sometimes I'll see operators take their hand completely out and operate the chain brake this way. Again, you've relinquished control of the saw. You always need your thumb wrapped around that front handle to disengage, and with a twist of the wrist, engage that chain brake. And the question comes up, well, what if I'm operating the saw in this direction? If you're operating the saw in this direction, Then it's a simple slide over, disengage, make your cut, slide it back over, re-engage. And that is the safe and proper way to use a chain brake. Hey, if you like these videos and you found something interesting or learned something today, make sure you like and subscribe and continue watching this series. There's a lot of really good videos on here on how to become better. Maybe you're already skilled in tree felling or arboriculture, but it never hurts to hear another person's perspective and learn a little something along the way. So again, if you like what you're watching, like and subscribe and keep on to the next series. See you next time.